Welcome everyone to Mondays with Michael. So good to be with you. This is our weekly gathering, our show devoted to two subjects of natural health and health freedom. Whatever platform you're viewing us on, please say hello. If you like, you can let us know where you're calling from and what updates you want to share, things you have that you've come across in the last week, and any questions you have for today as well can go on our watch page at michaelgaeta.com/watch and also in our backup Zoom link. So wherever you're calling from, a warm welcome. It is good to be together. So let's get going. A lot of great stuff to talk about today. Some massive updates, really a lot to share, and let's get into it. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is an offering of the Gaeta Institute. Here is with as well as the clinic, our motto is nature first, drugs last. Again, drugs aren't bad. They're just overused, and there's a natural solution to anything anyone might be taking any pharmaceutical for at least 98% of the time. So we talk about that, and we are going to be talking about that today, some natural ways to get well and stay well. And our other topic is health freedom. As some of you know, we got this show started in the early weeks of the pandemic. In March of 2020 was our first show, and it kind of evolved from there. So this is show number 287. A warm welcome to 287 for this October 27th, 2025. So lots to cover today. We're going to always interested in your questions, either on our watch page or the Zoom chat. You can put your questions right in there. And yeah, if you like, you can introduce yourself and share any updates you have in these areas of natural health and health freedom. Lots of great things going on. All right, so with that, we're going to launch into what we have going for today. And let me, folks are on our watch page. Please say hello. That would be great. And let us know if you are there, and or maybe everybody here is in the Zoom chat perhaps too, or on one of the other platforms. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hey there, Sandy. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So today we're going to get going with some news and updates from the MAHA world and in general in natural health, and very interesting things that have been interesting studies that have been published. I want to start with this one, and we will get this into the watch page as well as on our Zoom chat. So wherever you're in chat, you'll be able to see these links. This study just came out of Sweden, and a bit of a concern for children's health, which is always incredibly important, given that they are, in fact, the future. And I'll put this up. This was published in, this just came out. And what they found, this is thankfully translated into English, and a sharp increase in memory problems among children in Sweden and Norway. Now, there's a range of factors for this. The one they looked at most closely was radiation exposure from phones, particularly cell phones, would be a significant thing. But there's also other sources, Wi-Fi and cell towers, 5G. All of this is like bathing everyone in this sort of EMF, bad EMF. There's good EMF, but then there's this bad EMF soup. 850% increase in the roughly 20 years from 2006 to 2024 in memory disturbance. And then mild cognitive impairment, a 6,000% increase in these kids in Sweden and Norway. So not a great graph to look at what's happening with kids, this obviously in this country as well. And this coincides, so it's a correlation with the deployment of high intensity cell phone towers. So that's pretty significant. Now, there may have been other factors, but this tracks pretty well with, so obviously food, chemtrails, vaccines, all the things that make people sick, and children in particular, but it was quite a big jump, particularly in the last decade in memory and cognitive issues. So that's not great. And there was an analysis that I found published on this study from our good friends at the awesome Children's Health Defense. So they published an article about the study, which I thought was helpful. But this is certainly a concern. And so take a look at that. Now, speaking of the Children's Health, Children's Health Defense also came out with a great new article, which we'll put up here, on aluminum. So we have a great, one of the top specialists in the world, Christopher Exley, other experts like our faculty member here, Dr. James Lyons-Weiler here at the Institute. But Brenda Belletti is just fabulous. She publishes just top-notch reporting. And this is just a good thing. This is very good news that just came out a week ago that CDC has actually created a working group to review the childhood vaccine schedule, which is great. We already reported here that Stand for Health Freedom, SARG's group, and other groups have sued the CDC for putting out an untested vaccine schedule, which is true and which is extra tragic because the rest of the world tends to follow CDC, which is not great for the rest of the world. But the other nations' health departments tend to just copy and paste CDC recommendations, or at least consider them. And so this has global implications. So they're looking at the shots, the timing, simultaneous, all of this. And they're also going to be looking at one of the most neurotoxic substances in the world, which is aluminum. So that is, kind of a thing. And so they had Meryl Nass quoted here with a good point that vaccine interactions, in other words, polypharmacy, hasn't really been looked at. They quoted James Lyons-Weiler in this thing, and then this has just been an amazing kind of stuff we never thought was possible coming from the government. Again, we'd all like a lot more, a lot faster in terms of ending the vaccine catastrophe that's ruining our children. Obviously, we all want more and faster action on that, but these are significant steps for sure. So, and the Zogby poll, 60% of parents polled support a review of the CDC vaccine schedule for kids. And as James Lyons-Weiler published in one of his papers, what babies get in a single visit, standard, quote, well baby, which means vaccinate the baby visit, exceeds the even government limits for aluminum exposure by several 100%. And that's, insane. So this is just very good news. So again, this is all in process. For the first year of Bobby Kennedy's HHS appointment, this is, very good progress. They've got another 3 years to sort this stuff out. And hopefully make, some type of, federal intervention on making all vaccines, or at least recommendations to end mandates, which is happening in Florida. They're in process. It's not done yet. Ending all forced vaccination in Florida. Hopefully other sane states will follow, like Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and Arkansas and other sort of sane states will follow that, Utah. So that remains to be seen, but Florida is leading the way in restoring parental choice and health freedom and personal bodily sovereignty. So this is really good news, this article on what's happening right now at CDC to bring sanity for the first time ever, hasn't actually happened before, to vaccine policy, actually bringing evidence, not just propaganda, but actually bringing evidence into the equation, which would be very good. So really happy about that. That was just a super positive thing. And you've got the links there in the chat for this article. Good to share these articles, by the way, folks, with your people to, make sure they know what's going on too. So good articles to share. Love to hear your comments in the chat on these subjects. What do you think? Love to hear about that. Next is the vaccine cult is continuing and actually intensifying their resistance to data, evidence, statistics, sanity. So this was Dr. Nevrodakis, also at Children's Health Defense, put out a great article, which I have for you here, and we'll look at it, on how the tyrannical forces in the country, which were kind of in control of things for the last 4 years until recently, have really been upping their game in terms of aggressive promotion of vaccines. So we have, here it is. Yeah. So this is very interesting article that I came across also from CHD. Really recommend you subscribe to their Defender newsletter. They put out a lot of good stuff. This just came out 5 days ago. And the folks who mandated masks and distancing and fired people and preventing kids from going to school for getting experimental injections illegally, the folks who wanted you to wear 2 or 3 masks while alone in your car, the same crowd that closed churches but left liquor stores open, closed small businesses but left Walmart open, as a huge catastrophe. These same folks, and so we have we've seen just in the last couple of weeks evidence that hundreds of millions of dollars came from one of the most evil individuals in history, George Soros, amazingly granted the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is quite a disgusting insult. In the waning days of the Biden regime, they gave this guy, who has devoted his life to destroying the United States and the West in general, promoting open border policies, no border policies, basically. He is contributed to the destruction of most of Europe and the United States. His organization, which is now mostly run by his son, is were behind the Antifa riots. All right, the No Kings was not certainly what we now know was the opposite of a grassroots protest. It was a highly organized, extremely well funded, with hundreds of millions of dollars from Soros and others to destabilize society and introduce more and more violence into our lives. So anyway, he's got his hands, as always, in the vaccine cult cookie jar, and this was a coalition of 35 cities, the Big Cities Health Coalition. Sounds harmless enough. A bunch of big cities. I grew up in one, which was New York. And like Kill Gates, Soros invested heavily in the vaccine makers, Pfizer, etc. So this is philanthrocapitalism, which was initially done by David Rockefeller, 100 years ago, did the same thing. He invested in drug companies that would use his petroleum and petroleum products. So the West hating, Western civilization despising open society foundations, which are on the wane. I mean, they've cut 40% of their staff in the last few years. He got kicked out of his home country of Hungary. He's a Hungarian communist himself, major hater of all things Western civilization, including freedom. And so this crew, now that we have the receipts, have been behind not just Antifa and BLM and other terrorist groups. They have been behind a lot of the woke nonsense, which is, introducing huge amounts of racial division, which didn't exist before. And as Jack calls it, manipulating framing device, invoking measles and polio. And none of this has anything to do with anything except this ideological and kind of vaccine cult ideas. So, and that gets us into our next thing. The new, improved, unconflicted Advisory Council on Immunization Practices, 12 individuals, not pharma operatives for the first time, also recommended delaying MMR to age 4 and to stop recommending any vaccine that contains thimerosal. So in response, the triple mask alone in your car while on your way to get your 4th COVID booster mandated crew have formed the Governor's Public Health Alliance just now, which is basically state secession. This would be a form of states seceding from the United States. This at least in this area of medicine and so-called healthcare, which is pretty wild. So this is the Governor's Public Health Alliance, which was solely designed to follow drug company and American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations and ignore all of the, for the first time ever, science-based recommendations and policies coming out of CDC. So this is, a big problem for those states. This will certainly continue the migration out of those states, which has been accelerating since the scamdemic. But the ultra tyrannical folks who were, force vaccinating people to keep their jobs, keeping children out of school unless they got their genocide jab. These same folks have, in terms of health policy, have seceded from the United States. Now, will they continue that with formal state secession? I don't think so. I don't think they have that much backbone, honestly. They're a lot of bark and no bite. Pretty, uh, folks, so I don't think would do that. I don't think they want to either. But anyway, they have already seceded medically from the United States. So we'll see where that goes. But they're losing control. These are all like death throes. They're losing control of the narrative. Vaccines are safe, effective, and necessary. That's been the cult mantra for decades. And so, they're losing the narrative, they're losing the story, they're losing the even the optics and public relations and public awareness. They're just losing all over the place. And so they're getting more desperate and doing more extreme things, which is, a sign that you're over the target was when you get that extreme thing. And yes, here in Camirado, where I live, Camirado has signed on with California and those other states to medically secede from the country. So anyway, that's was a significant semi-humorous, but not really for the people who live in those states who are subjected to all this tyranny. So that's that. Some not great news. The appropriately beloved ear, nose, and throat doctor, who's just fabulous. This is Mary Talley Bowden, an ENT in Texas. Sadly, was reprimanded by the Texas Medical Board. So apparently they are not indicative of they are indicative of what seems to be a nefarious aspect of Texas situation. And they reprimanded her. They didn't take her license away, but they issued a reprimand for her using ivermectin to treat COVID patients, which is insane. And so, this was terrible. I mean, what she did, is now like commonplace. She was just ahead of the curve and really incredible. And this was a unanimous vote from the Texas Medical Board, kind of surprising. So I guess not every aspect of Texas organization statewide is freedom oriented. So this was kind of crazy. So what we'll do is, let me just get her page up. And we'll see if there's a further update from her. See if we have an extra update from her. Let's just take a look here. So this is her X page, one of the very few free speech platforms left. And I've been getting more and more reports from friends and colleagues that the Facebook censorship continues. But here it is. Okay. So here's her X page. Let's just take a look here. I haven't seen this. Yep, Americans for Health Freedom. That's right. She treated 6,000 COVID patients with ivermectin and other methods, kept them out of the hospital. What they didn't want was early treatment. They wanted people to wait until they were so sick they had to go to the hospital because they couldn't breathe. They put them on a ventilator and killed them. So anyway, let's see if we have, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm sure these are all very much worth seeing here. Yeah, let's just look at this one here. We've got a couple of clips we can put up from her. Hadn't planned on this. This is kind of spontaneous, but it's a live show. We can do stuff like that. And let's listen to. I listened to her Rogan interview. It was excellent. And Joe has just been great for giving voice to people who've been censored, which is just great. And he's really had his awakening as well from the medical mafia and its many tentacles.
Hard facts showing it should be pulled off the market. I mean, any other product would have been pulled a long time ago. If this were an antibiotic and we'd seen all the carnage from
She's talking about the COVID shots.
an antibiotic, it would have been yanked off long ago. It should have been yanked off in the first month. There's no other explanation than there's fraud, there's corruption, there's ego, there's money, but it's not science. Hard facts.
There you go. And then she's got we have a clip here with her and Dell, which is, I'm sure, good. I haven't heard this one yet, but let's take a look here. So she did a high wire interview with Dell, which I haven't listened to yet, but I look forward to that.
Why should we force somebody to get anything injected in their body?
As a physician, where are you at now when you look at, there's a foundational principle of modern medicine is the childhood vaccine program. What would you tell your, children or grandchildren if they were having kids now?
In terms of what I tell patients, I'm like, if it were me and my kids, I would hold off till we actually have real data. I mean, shocking. They studied hepatitis B for 5 days. They didn't teach us that in medical school, and shame on me for not looking into that. But yeah, it was a blow. I don't know if you saw my post this morning, but I'm just rethinking all sorts of things now. I'm glad I don't have young children because that's a battle. I mean, you have to deal with the schools, and I love what Joe Latipo is doing and that's another thing. Like, I just never questioned the fact that in order for my kid to go to school, I had to inject him with, multiple vaccines, and that, oh, sure. Now, oh my gosh, why should we force somebody to get anything injected in their body ever? We should never do that.
Well, there you go. So that's more of a general vaccine comment. But anyway, it looks like, based on this story, that she will appeal this disciplinary action from the medical board. Again, kind of surprising. Like, I would have expected this like in Colorado or California, one of the crazy states, Oregon, the total tyranny states, but not here from Texas. So apparently she's got something to deal with there. So there's yeah. So anyway, goes through this whole thing. I thought it was interesting. Part of this article was they started with 4 charges, went down to 1. Not a single expert agreed to testify against her. So apparently they just made up their mind. Couldn't find anybody an expert to testify against her. No one from the hospital she worked at spoke as a witness against her. There's no evidence. So they just made stuff up. And so there'll be appeals, lawsuits, new legislation in Texas. But anyway, we certainly support Dr. Bowden. She's fabulous. And again, kind of unexpectedly found herself in the middle of this. She just wanted to treat patients. And then all this stuff happened where her using her medical judgment, was punished. Yeah, I agree with you, Amanda. Texas Medical Board is totally corrupt. I'm with you. And that's super unfortunate. But here's the link if you want to learn more about her case. And I think she may have something to help contribute towards her legal expenses, which have been significant. That part I'm not sure about. But anyway, we certainly keep her in our prayers to get some sanity in the mix. That would be great if we can get some sanity related to these physicians just doing their job, which is treating patients. So here's the story about the leftist governors who have medically seceded from the United States. And the insanity of that is on full display there. And let me get this into the watch page as well. There you go. Okay. And then we have California doing what California does, which is tyranny. We saw this in the COVID years and otherwise. And this is another great piece that just came out. This is a month ago. Here it is. Let me put this up for you. Let's see. Yep, still rendering. All right, there you go. Let me get you the link here in case you want to see more about what's going on in states that have no freedom, and which predictably has resulted in an exodus out of these states. So anyway, here's the story. This was from Dr. Burdick at CHD. Like her work very much as well. California passes a law giving state authority to set its own vaccine guidance. This is related to the leftist governors seceding medically from the country. And so they're just going to follow the pediatricians' recommendations, which are hopelessly conflicted. One day I was teaching the vaccine seminar, an immune system seminar in Austin, Texas. And a pediatrician came up to me and said, I agree with everything you've said, which I was kind of surprised about. And he said, I want you to know that 80% of a pediatrician's income is derived from vaccines. And so they'll never question it. So this is these are the salespeople for the vaccine cult, the pediatricians, and they're going to set policy in California, right? So gruesome Newsom has signed into law. It's a new law. It's on the books. It's a law. And it locks in the federal vaccine guidelines from the Biden regime, and it allows California Public Health to change the guidance based on anything the pediatricians say, which is wild. So that is, there it is. And then the other leftist states, tyranny central, have, including Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, have done the same thing. So pretty remarkable. This will certainly continue the mass exodus out of California. U-Haul has run out of trucks twice in California. People fleeing California and its ridiculous, highest in the nation taxes and regulations, absence of freedom, forced vaccination. U-Haul twice ran out of trucks of people fleeing California. So anyway, again, anytime you push people like this, they're going to react. And that's, been pretty clear. Look at the population flow and you'll know everything you need to know. That's a very nonpartisan way to look at reality. Where are people going to and where are people leaving? Right? It's a very cut and dry. What is the net migration in or out of any state? And then you'll know how that state is doing, right? If you have a net migration out, like California, that's a failed state, right? If you have a net migration in, like Florida, then you have a successful state. It's a very kind of apolitical way to see how states are doing. The influx of people here in Colorado has ended, and now it's very slow positive in, or it may at this point, because that's been a couple of years since I looked at the Colorado statistics. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a net migration out. In other words, more people leaving than coming in when you add them up. So we will see. But anyway, and then, not to be outdone, the Northeast leftists, again, the folks who masked your 2-year-old in school and put kids in little bubbles in class and prevented you from having a job in many cases, particularly medical folks. Not to be outdone by the West Coast leftists, the coastal elites on the East Coast, particularly Northeast. Everybody but New Hampshire, which very interestingly, New Hampshire ranks #1 on the State Freedom Index. Very interesting state. Very interesting state. You know, live free or die, I think was their motto. And my aunt and uncle used to live there in New Hampshire, and they say, yeah, we don't lock our doors at night. We don't need to. No, there's no, home invasions and all this type of stuff. I said, well, why? He said, well, if a bad guy breaks into somebody's house in New Hampshire, he knows that he has a 50-50 chance of getting his head blown off. Direct quote from my uncle, who just passed away recently, actually, in the last year or so. But anyway, they're the only state that didn't join this nonsense of seceding medically from the United States. So all of New England is out and are following the recommendations of the Biden regime and following the pediatrician organization. So again, they're shooting themselves in the foot. We'll see this in grand style, like on steroids, in over the next year, when most of New York City will leave. At least the upper echelon, the highest income earners in New York City are already there. I've read more than one article on this, or at least mentioning this, that high income individuals are already planning to leave New York soon. They're about to elect a Muslim communist who hates America and hates freedom and favors is strongly in favor of murdering any Jew anywhere. This is part of the global intifada that he supports. So Mandami, the Muslim communist from Uganda, is poised to become the next mayor of New York, which is astounding. But I looked at, it was a very interesting chart. I grew up there. I lived my first 40 years in New York City. And it looks like New Yorkers born in New York are not voting for him. It's the sanctuary city. I assume they're illegals or just foreign born. I don't know. I mean, that could be from anywhere. But it's he has all of his support is coming from non-natives, folks who are not born in New York City. It's very interesting. So it's the changing makeup of the city, partly by design, the sanctuary city, open borders thing, might be playing a role in that, giving people the ability to vote who are not actually citizens. That might be a factor. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, New York is cooked because the wealthy folks are already packing their bags because he has an overwhelming lead against Andrew Cuomo, running as an independent former governor, and Curtis Silwa, who I remember him very well when I was growing up in New York. He was the founder of the Guardian Angels, who did basically nonviolent policing of communities. And I remember, growing up in New York in the 70s and 80s, that they were, controversial, but generally very appreciated. And all they did was walk around and look around and just be present and, provide, assistance to people who needed it and call the police when there was an issue. They were not vigilantes. They were nonviolent, unarmed, mostly, I think, folks who most of us in New York appreciated them. Anyway, he's running as the Republican candidate. And unfortunately, these two candidates have not joined forces. That would have been the only chance they had to defeat the communists. So it looks like New York will have the largest city in the country and one of the biggest cities in the world will have an America hating, Western civilization hating, Jew hating. Given the population of Jews in New York, this is astounding. And many of them are supporting him, which is unfathomable. They are about to have their first communist, the first big city in the country to have a communist mayor. So New York is cooked. If he gets elected, it's over. I mean, the city will become London, which has fallen, quoting the movie title. So I'm not too happy about that. Most of my, family is there. So it's going to be a total hellhole, kind of like LA, San Francisco, Portland, until recently, London. It's toast. It's over. So, and the people paying the taxes are just going to leave because they're going to massively increase taxes on the wealthy. So it's amazing what people just do stuff without thinking, I guess. I don't know. But, he's got a nice smile, that kind of, smiles a lot, looks kind of friendly, but that's just a technique, but he's a violent, ultra violent, militant, a radical Muslim. And again, I'm not saying all Muslims are bad. I'm just saying he's one of the bad ones, very much so. So very concerned about that. But anyway, not surprisingly, New York signed on to this medical secession, from the rest of the country. So good news. I want to get some good news in here. Well, we have a mix today. We have the good news and the bad news. This is something I mentioned, but I didn't give you the link. And where it's part of the restoration of informed consent, which is a very good thing. And let's just look at the details on this guy. This is the Defender again. Just a couple, we're kind of catching up on Defender updates today. We haven't done that in quite a while. So I thought it'd be good to pull out some of the highlights that are recent and relevant. So the COVID vaccine recommendations, mandates are over, which is great. And they're recommending now separating the useless chickenpox vaccine from MMR because the risk profile was much worse. It was much more dangerous. I mean, MMR is a catastrophic shot anyway, but it was even more catastrophic when you added the useless chickenpox vaccine to it. So they're recommending a standalone chickenpox vaccine. This took effect 20 days ago. This is Dr. Nevrodakis, another great article from him. And returning informed consent. Now, this is one of Bob's promises, was the return of medical freedom. So that's going to be interesting because that is something of a state-by-state thing. But if there's a federal recommendation which is what I'm hoping is the way he'll do it, recommending healthcare vaccine freedom of choice nationally, that the sane states who are not in these ridiculous coalitions, these pharma coalitions, will follow Florida's lead, which would be great. So this is very good. Very good news. This just happened a few weeks ago, and very positive step in the right direction. Again, a lot more to do. I think the biggest news was what we've reported on some weeks ago of Florida starting the process of unwinding all forced vaccination in Florida. That's just going to accelerate the influx of people into Florida, which, is understandable. Yeah. All right, next up, we have a bit about the COVAX carnage, which is a recurring theme. And the reason I keep talking about it is I want to share with you things you can share with others because of that really surprising poll that 39, this is a couple of months ago, but 39% of the whole country plans on getting another COVID booster this season, if they haven't already. I was stunned. One of the teachers at my karate school, I said, "Oh, how are you doing, Sensei?" Is, "Oh, just feeling a little low. I just had another COVID booster." I'm like, "Really?" And it just came out of my mouth. I said, "Oh, sorry to hear that." Was the first thing out of I didn't really even think about it. I just, "Oh, sorry about it." Almost like his dog died, sorry about that. And so he said, "Oh, you're in that camp." I said, "No, it's not a camp and it's not opinion. There's 5,000 studies proving that these shots do a lot more harm than good. They don't work and they do a lot of harm. It's nobody's opinion." So anyway, what's done is done. I wish him well, that he doesn't drop dead, in the coming weeks or months. He's very healthy, fit guy. He's around 60 and super fit, just and just a wonderful man, just a very kind person. And I'm just praying that he doesn't drop dead of a heart attack or stroke or whatever else, cancer, which is the subject of this article here. So this study just came out a month ago. This was published in Biomarker Research. 1-year risk. This is a South Korean study. South Korea, by the way, is one of the countries that tends to closely copy CDC vaccine recommendation. For some reason, the folks in South Korea, country we thankfully were able to create, a great loss of life of American soldiers, a thriving country by any metric. But they, unfortunately, unlike Japan, they're doing it right. They consider all vaccine recommendations independently. They don't just copy and paste CDC. South Korea, not so much. At one point, South Korea had the second largest vaccine schedule in the world, of course, after the United States, where we do the most vaccines by far of any country in the world. Typically, a third more vaccines than European countries. So let's look at this paper. 1-year risk of cancers associated with COVID-19 vaccination. Well, that sounds important, and it is. This is an incredibly important study because there were 8.4 million people in this study. You can imagine. Oh, thank you, Sabine. 8.4 million people, 3 years of data. The results were insane. The risks, so they just dumped them into two groups, vaccinated and unvaccinated. There was a 35% increase in thyroid cancer, similar increases in stomach cancer and colorectal cancer, a 53% increase in lung cancer, 20% increase in breast cancer, 69% increase in prostate cancer. These cancers significantly increased at 1 year post-vaccination. That's incredible. So again, it's just evidence in a peer-reviewed, for whatever that's worth, journal of what we've seen, what I've seen in my own practice, what my students have seen in their practice, their functional medicine practices, colleagues and others, seeing this explosion in the last few years of cancer cases. New cancers, recurrence of old cancers, highly aggressive cancers. It's been a disaster, like a total disaster. So now we have a study. Yep, thanks, Sabine. Good to see you. We have a study sort of confirming what we already knew. So that was a pretty big deal. Not good news. And, next time I see my sensei, I will ask him if he would like some studies to look at. Because I'm thinking about his kids and his grandkids and the rest of his family who might be following, dad's recommendation. I'm a little concerned about that. So we'll see. He might not be open to it. It's up to him. But I think I'm going to offer, hey, would you like to see any of the research, on this catastrophe? I may not put it that way, but maybe I will. I don't know. Probably not. Okay, so that's that. This was something I had mentioned, but wanted to do a little bit more detail on this. Bobby being extra awesome in the UN. So the UN has been trying for years to supersede national sovereignty through public health emergency policy. So Bobby shows up at the UN and just rips into them for trying to create a medical surveillance state. So he's addressing the surveillance aspect of this. And he rejected the UN Declaration on Non-Communicable, Non-Infectious Disease as weak. And he testified before the UN. This is a non-binding declaration. The United States has checked out of this. We were walking away from the Declaration on Non-Communicable Disease because it was ridiculous, and their sole focus is vaccines, of course, because who controls the World Health Organization is the Gates Foundation. So, and Soros and the other evil players. So anyway, we have a short clip here.
President Trump is leading.
And here's Bobby on this exact thing. This is just great. And here he is before the whole UN. which is just great to see Bobby on such a big stage. And, those, the sane folks are hoping, the United States is already in the process of leaving the World Health Organization, the World Homicide Organization, and hopefully it will exit the UN entirely, which is a completely unnecessary body formed after World War II to counter the Russian threat, which was real when there was a communist Soviet Union. The United Nations kind of made sense. Common defense against a communist entity.
President Trump is leading America in the fight to drive an historic shift from a sick care system to health care. We launched the Make America Healthy Again agenda to confront the root causes of chronic disease, especially for children. We put nutrition, physical fitness, and responsible medicine back at the center of health. That's why we're calling out the truth. Ultra-processed food is driving chronic disease. America has the highest chronic disease burden on earth. This is both a public health crisis and an economic crisis. We now spend 90% of healthcare costs, about $4 trillion a year, on chronic disease. It's also a national security crisis. 7 out of every 10 American children cannot qualify for military service. America suffers more than anybody else, but this is a global calamity. More than 40 million people die around the world each year from chronic disease, and 7 out of the 10 most common causes of death are chronic disease. President Trump wants to lead the effort globally against ultra-processed foods and the medical and physical illness associated with it. We're calling on the international community to come together to combat this scourge. We cannot defeat the epidemic alone, but the UN's approach is misdirected. It attempts both too little and too much. It exceeds the UN's proper role while ignoring the most pressing health issues. And that's why the United States will reject it. More specifically, we cannot accept language that pushes destructive gender ideology. Neither can we accept claims of a constitutional or international right to abortion. The WHO cannot claim credibility or leadership until it undergoes radical reform. The United States objects to the political declaration of non-communicable diseases. Member states decided earlier this year that this meeting should approve a declaration in advance by consensus to ensure this gathering would not be marred by controversy, but the declaration is filled with controversy, with provisions about everything from taxes to oppressive management by international bodies of communicable diseases. The draft declaration before us today should not have been included in today's agenda. The United States will walk away from the declaration, but we will never walk away from the world or our commitment to end chronic disease. We stand ready to lead, to partner, to innovate with every nation committed to a healthier future.
Wow. So that's huge. So they also, so in that same statement, the giving up of national sovereignty in the event of a so-called or stated claimed emergency. So the United States has rejected that. Yeah. So pretty significant. So there you go. Hopefully, this will lead to other countries, like sane countries, like Argentina, who just had a major defeat of the communists in their midterm elections, massive explosion in freedom in Argentina, which had suffered for 100 years under socialism. As if you needed more proof that it's failed, just look at Argentina, making a roaring comeback, and the people like it. And they voted big time on this subject just over the weekend. So massive win for freedom in Argentina. So hopefully countries like that will follow Bobby's lead. Sane countries like Italy, Germany, no, sorry, not Germany, Hungary. Germany's toast for the moment. But Poland, Hungary, Italy, those are the main three remaining free states in Europe. The rest of Europe is kind of done until that changes, and I think it will, because the populations have reached a breaking point with the open borders destroying their countries and cultures. So that's another thing. But that's just great news from Bobby, kind of walking away from the tyranny of the UN. Pretty significant. Next up, this is a preview of something that will happen in the next day or so. So this is Nick Hulscher, really good guy to follow. I always read his stuff. I've been following him for some time. He is with the McCullough Foundation and just does a great job of exposing the genocide jab for what it is. There's increasing intensity of his and others' desire to see, based on evidence, all of the COVID shots and all mRNA technology permanently banned. So anyway, he was teasing this out, that Andy Wakefield, who I interviewed back in 2013 for my previous show, which I had for 4 years, from 2009, 2010 until 2013. He was my last interview with that until while that radio show was on. In December of 2013, he is releasing the most comprehensive study ever conducted on the causes of autism. And I think that's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe Wednesday, but I think tomorrow. 79 pages of research on this. And he also pointed out that Grok, after reading the Henry Ford study, now agrees for the first time. And this is the McCullough Foundation autism paper, that Grok, the AI, very powerful AI, agrees that vaccines can cause autism. So we will see. I'm really looking forward to that. And here's the specific post. I gave you his general page, but here's the specific post on that. So kind of looking forward to that. And, that plus Inconvenient Truth documentary, the Henry Ford study coming out, which was amazing that it showed no autism in the unvaccinated or cognitive neurodevelopmental issues in the unvaccinated kids and tons in the vaccinated group. One of the many great revelations. We looked at that last week. But pretty amazing. Oh, and also wanted to give you the CHD commentary on the cancer study that came out. They did a great commentary on that study. So I want to make sure you have that too. So that's also in the Zoom page. So speaking of Japan, we have a short clip today from one of the Japan's most senior oncologists. So this is the top cancer doctor in Japan, Professor Fukushima. mRNA injections, they're not vaccines, as murder. And he is very much in agreement with that study we just looked at on the genocide jab and cancer. So I'll give you the link to this. And, I keep, every time I talk about and share it with you on X, it kind of reminds me of like, why am I even bothering with Facebook anymore? But anyway, here it is. Let's listen to Dr. Fukushima. he's hot on this. He is passionate about this for good reason. And, he's just joining the chorus of calls for the retraction, the banning, the recall of all mRNA injections. So let's listen.
やはり、ターボガンと言われるタイプ、今までに医師が経験してないような非常にスピードが速い。
So this is in Japanese with, thankfully, with subtitles. What's being called turbo cancers, characterized by incredibly fast speed. By the time it's developed, it's already stage 4. Doctors began sharing information about these cases that are different cancers than before. This has gradually become the situation since last year or the year before that. Doctors have been sensing that something unusual related to cancer may be happening. They were feeling it on the ground. The results of this analysis, the one we just looked at, show the specific types of cancer in relation to the genocide jab, the murder weapon, seem to be experiencing excess mortality. And then he mentioned the cancers we just looked at: breast, ovarian, thyroid, these, and prostate cancer. Here's a top oncologist in Japan. Such cancers are specifically observing excess mortality. This cannot be simply explained by early screening or lost opportunity for treatment. Among the cases I reviewed, some underwent autopsies revealed that the vaccine literally caused the heart to disintegrate. That's an autoimmune response. Died from heart attack. This young guy died from a heart attack 5 days after a shot. Gave him an autopsy. When he tried to remove the heart, it was soft and had disintegrated. The heart disintegrated 5 days after the shot. Even just one case shows how dangerous the vaccine can be. And then he's saying healthy people get vaccinated, then die. It's essentially murder. It's serious. I want this to state clearly that this is my view. This is a serious matter. The media does not report it properly. Newspapers don't cover it. This is certainly distorted. I'm deeply concerned not only about a crisis in medicine, but a significant crisis in science and democracy. I'm increasingly alarmed as a scientist and a doctor. This vaccine should not have been administered at the national level. It should not have been approved and brought to market. I firmly believe at this point in time. Wow. I mean, he was not messing around. So that was huge. Y-U-G-E, huge. Revelations from the top. This is not a kid with a blog. This is the top oncologist in Japan. Most senior oncologist in Japan. Pretty incredible. All right. So that's that. I thought that was pretty significant. And this is more on the freedom side, not so much on the health side, but definitely on the freedom side. His rallying cry is freedom, damn it. The awesome, amazing, phenomenal, incredible, saved his country, literally. Milei in Argentina literally saved his country. Sounds familiar. From communism, from socialism. and it's a pretty big deal because he is, from what I understand, haven't seen a lot on him, but at least philosophically, my guess is that he would be very much, pro health freedom, as something of a libertarian. So we just have a little bit of that. This is great news for humanity, that the people have spoken in favor of freedom and rejecting communism, which is spreading all over the place, and has obviously, our president has saved the country from socialism, although areas have fallen, states and cities have fallen. The country has not, which is good. So let's I wanted to give you the links, really. I don't want to read all these articles. But this couple of stats I thought was interesting. This is from the news outlet Counting Stars. 41% of the votes compared to 25% for the communists. So he beat the commies by 16%, which was way bigger margin of victory than even they expected, and even defeated the communists in Buenos Aires, the main. It's always the big cities that are the hotbeds of communism. So this would be equivalent to, I don't know. This would be equivalent to, a freedom-oriented candidate winning an election in California or Colorado, for example, or Oregon, some of the crazy states run by leftists. This is, very amazing. This exceeds which you have. This is published in Baja Breaking News, 41%. This is from Roya News. Oh, actually, this is before the election. No, this was the other one. Here he is. He's such a character. He's great. And his slogan is "Freedom, damn it," which is pretty cool. So great news for Argentina. Again, they have a long way to go. He has to undo 100 years of socialism, which is, he's doing it. But it's going to take some time. Yeah. Then the ultra pro vaccine Cleveland Clinic, other than their, they have some type of integrative health clinic there. And, I've seen several patients who went there and, didn't get the help they were looking for and came here to get help. I got to see some of their protocols that the patients came in with, and not too impressive, I think, on the natural health side. Not too impressive. Anyway, I'm glad it's there because they've got Mark Hyman, who's done some good work for sure. But I think they could use a little training on the natural health side. So anyway, so this was a Cleveland Clinic study. This was crazy, that people who took the flu shot, adjusting for variables, had a 27% increased risk of getting the flu. Yet another example. And history is littered with these examples of how people who take the flu shot are way sicker than folks who don't. And it's literally that simple. The flu shot is a catastrophe. Before the COVID shots came out, by the way, the most complained in terms of source of adverse event reports was the flu shot. So pretty remarkable. This was a peer-reviewed study done by Cleveland Clinic, 53,000 clinic employees. Pretty incredible. So please share this study. And here is, this is a longer clip. We're not going to play it, but great clip from Highwire with the awesome Jeffrey Jackson, who is one of the Highwire reporters, and does a great job. And there it is. Flu shot way worse than, and let me get you, yeah, so that was, I think, significant. So there's the link about that study. And please share these links, folks. We've got to educate people about what's going on. This was crazy. This was Paul Merrick, one of the top critical care physicians in the world, who has trained generations of critical care physicians. And he was on the show not long after he was fired for saving the lives of several patients, banned from using innovative protocols because the goal was to kill as many people as possible, to juice the numbers, to make it look worse than it was, and in general, stoke more fear and therefore demand for the murder weapon. So this was nuts. Let's hear Dr. Merritt, see if we can get him on the show again to talk about these things, because it's important. But let me make sure you've got the link here. Yep, here it is. And then in the Zoom, there you go. And let's hear from Dr. Merritt. Again, they had trouble with him because he was the top guy, or one of the top critical care physicians in the world. So he was problematic to the medical mafia. Here we go.
Pfizer and the FDA and the CDC and all other organizations said, you got the shot in the arm, it stayed in the arm, and then the messenger RNA disappeared. So that was a lie, because we have
lies.
Yeah, there was multiple lies, because we actually have autopsy series that was done in Germany. They looked at over 100 patients who had died after the vaccine. And what they did in that study, which is really critical for people to understand, is because if you just do an autopsy, you can hide the results. What they did is they stained the body, all the tissues, for spike protein. They stained the tissues for spike protein. And the results were astonishing, because there was spike protein completely overcoming every single organ system that was involved. There was full of spike protein.
And again, you weren't surprised.
The heart, the liver, the kidney, the brain, completely full of spike protein. And these people died from spike protein related disease. So there's a disease called spike protein related disease, and these people died as a consequence of spike protein, and the whole body was completely stuffed with spike protein. It was disseminated throughout the whole body. And they told us, and the CDC told us, and the FDA told us, it stays in your arm. We know that's a lie. And it's a toxic protein that gets distributed to every organ system.
Man-made toxin.
Oh, yes. This was man-made.
Yep.
There you go. So he refuted the idea that, oh, that's natural COVID. No, natural COVID did not do that. So pretty significant. And wanted to share with you, let me get you a link. There's been a couple of things that have been looked at as ways for clearing spike. And let me give you a link to this, to the store where you can get this formula. There's a couple of them, but I'm just going to mention one today. We'll mention more going forward. Let me get this into the chat for you. There you go. And this formula would be one of the formulas that we're going to be talking about. We have an upcoming course in November that I'm going to be teaching a brand new course on dealing with vaccines, COVID carnage from the experimental injections, the genocide jab, and also we're going to be doing two topics. One is dealing with carnage from the genocide jab and also maintaining a strong immune system for everything. Whatever, if they're going to release a new bioweapon or just seasonal issues or dealing with folks who have got the injections, who obviously are sicker than everybody else, all of that. So that's coming up. We're going to be doing that. I'm starting that course next week. So stay tuned. We're going to be releasing the information on that. I'm going to be teaching 3 classes starting next Monday on this subject of dealing with COVAX carnage, as I like to call it, and also having a strong immune system for the upcoming cold and flu season and beyond. So please keep an eye on that. This, and there's a link for it. This is, we don't have a link for it yet, but we will send it to you. This is Da Vinci Nattokinase Plus 2 per day empty stomach. So that is one of the formulas we're going to be talking about. There's several in next week's class. So this is going to be an important one, folks. So please tell folks about this. As soon as we get we're going to send an email out about this week, and we're going to get this course going next week. I was going to wait till next year, but it's just too important to wait. So we're going to jump right in. So please join us for that. And you'll get an email if you're on our list. If you're not on our list, just go to michaelgaeta.com and get on our list. That's kind of important. That's how you know, that's how you'll find out about the class. Also, if you really would appreciate your support, and thank you. We've got got so much support for the show. We've had donations and other support for the show. Appreciate that. There's 3 ways to support the show. If you go to michaelgaeta.com, if you want to, if this is helpful to you and you want to give back a bit, a little something, there's a couple of ways to do that. One is register for a course. And we've got now almost 60 courses now in natural health. And they're awesome. They're just really good. And you get a discount, MWM10, for listeners of this show. So that's on our course page. We have some wonderful courses, including the epic COVID vaccinosis, which was like a 50-hour course on the COVID shots in immense detail with the awesome Pamela Richardson and myself. So register for one of our courses. You'll get great information to help yourself and your family and your patients. And you also help support the Institute in keeping these shows going. And then remember, you can always make a donation or contribution monthly or one time of any amount to support the show. Many thanks. You know who you are. Folks who have done that and also purchased courses using the discount. Wonderful. Appreciate that. And you can also support the show and schedule a consult. It's just a good idea anyway. So you just go to our homepage and go to clinic and then patients. And you or somebody you care about can schedule a consult. If you're not sure, you can schedule a free discovery call. You can see if it's a good fit for you, or if you're interested in, a course and you're not sure which one to take. But these are largely by Zoom and phone, and also here in Boulder. And schedule a consult. I think everybody should do that once a year to review all your labs and see how you're doing and come up with a customized protocol with diet and lifestyle and natural medicine. It's a good idea. So those are all the ways you can support the show. In addition, you can go to our, where did it go? Our store, give you the link there. And in our store, we've got some wonderful herbs like danshen. And then I've curated, hair analysis, other lab testing, the book we published on media fast and having a media diet for your sanity and well-being. Great recommendations here. Many of these links will give a small return to the clinic here and to the Institute. Some wonderful places that it's where I buy stuff from and that I recommend. We've got some 3 great American businesses for clothing and health food and organic things. So, so you can also support the show in that way as well. Just take a peruse in our store page, some great information and great resources there, stuff that I use and recommend. And at least some of those are affiliate links, which are a great way to support the school and the Institute as well. All right. So on the health side, on the natural health side of things, very interesting paper just came out from the Lancet. Let me get this link in here for you. It's full text, which is great. And let me get this over here. And let's see. Okay, here's the link to this paper. We're going to look at it together. And there it is. And it's a way to increase your longevity for free. And it's called walking. This study just came out, published in Lancet Public Health. Just came out exact to the day 2 months ago. And it's pretty awesome. Oh, and Faye, a danshen can be with or without food. Either way is fine. Most herbs you can take on an empty stomach or with food. It doesn't mean it works better on an empty stomach. It means it works faster on an empty stomach. It's about speed, not efficacy. So if you take an herb on an empty stomach, it'll be absorbed faster. You'll get the effect faster, but it doesn't mean it works better. So it's really whatever is convenient for you. But again, danshen is in our store, michaelgaeta.com/store. And the preventative maintenance wellness dose that I take is 3 a day. And if there's a health issue, I will typically recommend 6 a day. Sometimes more, but typically 6 a day. So daily steps, so walking and health outcomes, systematic review and meta-analysis, dose response. And they looked at 57 studies. And this was remarkable. If you look at let me blow this up a little for you. It's a little small. Here it is. So 57 studies, 35 cohorts in the systematic review, and they aggregated data from 31 studies in the meta-analysis. It's pretty remarkable. An inverse association, meaning the more walking, the less cardiovascular mortality, cancer, incidence and mortality, diabetes, and depression. So compared with 2,000 steps a day, 7,000 steps per day were associated with a 47% lower risk of all-cause mortality. That's astounding. Walking. Literally walking. And what was amazing, it was compared to some walking compared to more walking. It wasn't, I mean, it may have been a more dramatic difference with no walking. I think it would. But that's an amazing 47% lower risk of all-cause mortality walking 7,000 steps a day. 25% less cardiovascular disease incidence, so morbidity, 47% less cardiovascular death, 6% less cancer, incidence, 37% less cancer mortality. So a person is given a diagnosis of cancer. Get walking. 14% less type 2 diabetes, 38% less dementia. 22% less depression, 28% less risk of falling. I mean, that's astounding. That is astounding. So it looks like the 10,000 step a day recommendation is great. And it looks like 7,000 steps, which is a fair bit less, 30% less, is going to do the job in a big way. So that's pretty remarkable. Published in one of the top 5 kind of halo journals in the world. Pretty big deal. We were not planning on applying for CEUs for COVID carnage, but we can if there's interest in acupuncture CEUs. That we can do relatively easily. Chiropractic CEUs are a massive other level of what's required for chiropractic CEUs. So just let me know if you're an acupuncturist, if you'd be interested in credits for that class. We could pretty easily get that together if there's enough interest, in people to do that. So anyway, that was a pretty awesome study. 47% less all-cause mortality from walking. That's pretty remarkable. That is pretty remarkable. So that's that. There is a new book out. Let me get this up for you that I would recommend that just came out from the awesome Aaron Siri. Just came out not too many weeks ago. Let me see. I'm trying to find a non-Amazon source for the book. We'll see. Maybe not. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yep. Okay. Obviously, it's going to be on Amazon, but I try to find independent booksellers. And here it is. I'll give you the link. This is called Vaccines Amen, which he's saying, what I've been saying for 25 years is that the vaccination field is a cult. And the way you know it's a cult is that dissent is not tolerated. Instead of being encouraged, debate, discussion, dialogue, dissent, being encouraged, which is in what happens in a healthy situation. It's actually suppressed with harsh, intense censorship. So he refers to it as a religion, which is true. You could call it a religion if you want. I think it's better to call it a cult because healthy religions encourage dialogue, whereas vaccine cult does not. They don't tolerate that. So anyway, that's Aaron Siri's new book. I haven't read it yet, but the reviews have been superb so far. And I think that's just going to continue. Yeah. So with that, I wanted to, there was another great Nick Hulscher post that I wanted to share with you. And then Pretty Face, whoever you are, love to hear from you if what profession you were interested in CEUs for our upcoming new course. So here's Nick, and I'll give you the link here. And it puts out great little videos on this subject. And then we're going to hear from the wonderful Dr. McCullough, who has just been amazing seeing his evolution in thinking, where he was very pro-vaccine, just not COVID vaccines. And now he is questioning the whole thing. So here is a short video from McCullough Foundation. And here is the post. You now have that in your chat. And it's interesting, as the West has turned away from religion for decades. That's changing now in the United States, which is good. Thank you, Charlie Kirk and others. That people are turning back to religion because it makes for healthier, happier, more generous people. Again, certainly not a requirement, but statistically, it's super obvious that folks who have some type of faith, religious faith, are just way healthier and more productive and more generous and giving and all of that. Oh, acupuncture, great. Oh, thanks, Cami. So good to know. We will work on that then if we have some interest in that. I'll get some acupuncture credits. So here's Nick, vaccine ideology. And so in the absence of, with the rise of secularism, which has taken over Europe, and so they've become very susceptible to, intrusion from other faiths without really questioning or challenging anything. When people don't have God by whatever name, whatever faith, whatever, that, is congruent with that person's, belief system. When God is absent, other things fill that gap. And typically it's the state, right? So we have, where God is absent in a person's life, the person will find other things to believe in, other gods, false gods. And this will be, Tony Fauci, vaccines in general, the medical system, the government, the state, other external forms of authority, will replace the spot where a healthy faith in God would be normally, ideally. So this explains where the vaccine tyranny is strongest, is in states and communities and other countries even where secularism, which has been devastating, total catastrophe in terms of human suffering and an absence of human thriving, secularism has given rise to scientism and the placing the state as the highest authority in one's life. It's that simple. When there is secularism, then very simply, the state becomes your God. And we see people, signing up for tyranny. And we saw this in the COVID years. And we see this, in all the stories we looked at today. We see this sort of secular distortion of consciousness that leads to obedience to state authority. And that's just what it is. So anyway, Nick continues, this is his little, kind of intro to this video. Clinics, hospitals, and pharmacies serve as temples. Followers must be injected to prove their faith. Those that die do so for the greater good. Dissidents are vilified, censored, and excommunicated. So we've seen this with, physicians like Paul Thomas, who's been on the show a number of times, who was attacked and eventually lost his medical license for giving parents a choice on their vaccine use at all and on what schedule made sense to that family. So for practicing informed consent, he lost his medical license. So let's take a listen. Oh, this Bach, toccata and fugue in D minor.
There's essentially an irrational ideology going on here.
So one of the ways we love each other and demonstrate that we love each other is we get vaccinated.
Yep.
But he believes his strong relationship with his community's young people will help him spread the message to get more people vaccinated.
Vacunarse es un modo sencillo pero profundo de promover
This
el
is so
bien
evil.
y de cuidarnos unos
So
a
evil.
otros.
It's gone on for 300 years. It's not based in science, it's based in faith.
My name is Father J.K. Adams. I'm a Jesuit priest. Getting the vaccine felt like an act of compassion and empathy. This was what we had to do for the sake of our elderly brothers, our school.
Houses of worship all over the city are participating in this weekend of faith. The mayor says mobile vaccination sites will be posted at more than 50 houses of worship over the weekend.
The doctors and nurses are completely enrolled in this religion.
Oh, man.
And it says, listen, we all got to take these. They're good. The more we have, the better. It's going to protect us.
Del norte al sur de América, apoyamos la vacunación para todos.
Vacinar-se é uma opção de amor a todos, principalmente aos mais
Yikes.
vulneráveis.
And if there's any side effects, you just have to take it for the team. And so there's really no compassion. Do you know doctors have taken these and they've died, nurses have taken, and they just kind of take it. There's no outrage. There's no outrage.
Well, you're not allowed to question anything.
You'd think that there would be a spouse here and there that would just go nuts. And there isn't, because this religion is so strong. It's a religious belief. It really is.
Ouchie.
Including Zachary.
Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
Severe brainwashing. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Powerful film. I mean, it's just a short 3-minute film with, music from one of my favorite composers, J.S. Bach, his very famous Toccata and Fugue, which wasn't actually written as church music, but we'll give that a pass because it's such a great piece. I'm going to give you the link to that post with that video. Please share. I have. And it's important. Get that out. And it's just, it's just been great to see Peter's evolution in thinking over time. And I've spoken to him about it a couple of times. And especially, since he was concerned, he received a COVID shot himself before he kind of got a handle on what was going on. And that led him to question everything vaccine related. And again, one of the greatest medical scientists in the world, like the most published cardiologist on the planet, for him to come around to no vaccine, like the entire vaccine schedule is unsafe, is just great. So I really appreciate that. He was on the show some time ago, and just really appreciate his willingness to consider other viewpoints than what he was trained in and what he previously believed. The next one, I'm working on it, is on statins. He's a staunch supporter of statins, despite absence of evidence of safety or efficacy. But anyway, a step at a time. Anyway, so let's look at this. This was Rasmussen, one of the most respected polling organizations. And this was kind of wild. This just came out 6 weeks ago. 56% of the whole country believe that the genocide jab, the COVID-19 injections, have killed many people. And back Bobby Kennedy's criticism of government health officials like the genocidal psychopath Tony Fauci, who he wrote a whole book about. The latest Rasmussen reports, National Telephone and Online Survey, finds 56% of likely voters consider it likely that the genocide jab, the murder weapon, have caused a significant number of unexplained deaths, including a third of the country. Likely voters, a third, believe it's very likely. That's amazing. That's amazing. Then you have the brainwash folks who were, demonstrated in that video there. A third said it's not likely, and half of those said it's not at all likely. And these are relatively the same findings as a year earlier. So pretty remarkable. That's just very, very amazing. People are waking up, folks. And please, let's amplify that. Let's increase that by sharing, what we're talking about today. And McCullough Foundation, the great Nick Hulscher, wrote a commentary on that Rasmussen poll that I'm sharing with you as well. And so you're going to see that in the chat. There you go. All right, finally, we're going to look at some solutions. This study came out less than a year ago, and I'll give you the link. And it was a remarkable outcome for this population of patients. But we can generalize this, as you'll see, to a very wide range of people beyond. So let me get this into the chat. And let's take a look. Here it is. Okay. This was a very impressive study for a number of reasons. This is the effects of the two more studies to show with you today, and then we'll be done. But I didn't want to miss this because this is a very important paper we haven't really looked at before. The effects of bioelectromagnetic energy regulation therapy, as the Beamer PEMF device, on erectile dysfunction in patients with MS. Now, long before this paper came out, I had a patient who had erectile dysfunction for 15 years that resolved in 2 weeks of using the Beamer every day by improving microcirculation to that area. So this is a triple blind, meaning the patient, nor the practitioner, nor the data analyst knew which patient was in which group. So it's a unusually strong method of blinding a study to increase the validity of the findings. Nobody really knows who's in what group. This came out of Saudi Arabia. This was published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine, super respected journal. And what do they find? This is full text. I'm just going to give you an overview here. They had 52 men with multiple sclerosis. This is a very degenerative neurological condition characterized by fatigue, heaviness in the legs, difficulty walking, profound fatigue, and erectile dysfunction. So they got 3 weeks of Beamer treatment with pelvic floor exercise or sham Beamer treatment. And I'm sitting on my seat cushion Beamer pad now, the B-SIT, where the patient laid on the mat, but it wasn't turned on. So it's very easy treatment to do a placebo. You simply lay on the mat, and then the mat isn't actually on. Oops. Okay. And yeah, I'm sitting on my B set. This is the whole device. It's very elegant, lightweight, easy to transport, move around, travel with, has a battery. But anyway, what happened? They had 3 weeks of Beamer treatment and or a placebo where the device was not turned on. So the Beamer group showed better improvements in basically everything: erectile function, also improvements in the sexual health inventory. They had improvements in erection hardness, sexual experience, and fatigue, and intimacy and sexuality. All of these things improved. So the Beamer device in 3 weeks, not 3 years, but not 3 months, but 3 weeks, improved erectile function, sexual satisfaction, and reduced fatigue. This is the third MS fatigue study that was done using this device. All showed dramatic improvements in energy. And having treated so many MS patients over the last 35 years, I can tell you, if you can help an MS patient with their fatigue, you can help anybody with fatigue. You can give anybody a lot more energy if you can help an MS patient. It's a very difficult condition that is progressive without kind of supportive therapy like what we do here. And it was pretty amazing. So they did this was a triple blind study in the neurology department at 2 hospitals with 52 patients. And there is the treatment. And again, it was only once a day, 5 days a week. That's not a lot. If it was used as designed, which is twice a day for 8 minutes, I believe the results would have been even better. So they used program 3. That was good. So that's 20 minutes of higher intensity treatment. It's still a low intensity signal, which is good. But it was a great result. Plus the B spot, which is a small, disc that goes right on a small area. So they used that on the genital area, just what my patient had done, a year earlier, and did the same exact home treatment. Program 3 on the B body, program 3 on the B spot, 20 minutes once a day is what they did. 5 days a week for 3 weeks. That was it. 15 treatments total, which is incredible. Imagine they had them at home and could use them for 8 minutes or more, but at least 8 minutes twice a day would have been even better. So I think so. So this is a very positive result. It's hope for men with erectile dysfunction, which is not always androgens. It's often microcirculation. So men get all fussed about their testosterone levels, but you can boost testosterone, but if you don't improve circulation to the area, it's not going to improve. And this was very effective in improving circulation and thereby sexual function. So an amazing outcome from, again, this is the third MS study, but the first one on erectile function. So I'll give you the page, which is right here, if you want to learn more about this remarkable device. It's the only PEMF in the world that has 64 published studies using this exact specific device, which is amazing. So you'll see on this, michaelgaeta.com/PEMF, all 64 studies are right here, the research compilation, which I just recently updated. There's a free 14-lesson email course, complete education site, weekly classes for free. You definitely, if you don't have this thing in your clinic, if you're a practitioner, to help your patients and recommend it to them for home use, And if you don't have one at home for yourself, this would be a very smart thing to do. It's the only research-based device in the world using the 64 studies using this exact specific device, not referring to generic research, not using that device. So all the details are here. Here's how you get one. Just get a hold of Cynthia, who will walk you through the process. We do a lot of post-purchase training, education, onboarding, answering questions, just an enormous amount of like ongoing support for folks who purchase the device through our school. So anyway, highly recommended. It's just one of the 64 studies on this device. So highly recommended. All right, last up for today, our last thing is a brand new study, which I was very excited about. And that's why I wanted to share it with you, because it's just an abstract, so it's pretty quick. I'm going to give you the link here. And I'll get this over to the watch page folks as well. There it is. And also here. So you've got all the information. And now this will be our last study today, or last topic really today. Let's see, here it is. And it's on one of my favorite herbs, Don Shen. Brand new paper, only provisionally accepted so far. So this is like pre-print. This paper just came out. I was very excited to come across this paper. And this is published in Frontiers of Pharmacology. And this, I don't know if we even have a date. Oh yeah, here it is. This just came out 2 weeks ago. So that's pretty current. And it's called cryptotonshinone, which is one of the components of Salvia miltiorhiza. Targets the tumor immune microbiome axis to suppress, in this case, colorectal cancer. But I believe this would apply broadly to other cancers as well. But colorectal cancer is kind of a big thing. That's 10% of all cancer deaths. So that's, pretty significant, or so. I think it might be 7 to 10%. So what did they find? They did a study on this herb, or a component of the herb, and the results were amazing. This herb, or this compound from the herb, exerted potent anti-colorectal cancer effects, suppressing tumor cell proliferation. So that interferes with one of the stages of cancer, and inducing apoptosis, which is our cellular defense against cancer. The main one, anyway, not the only one. This herb significantly inhibited tumor growth, ameliorated colon shortening and pathological damage, and reduced inflammation. It alleviated T-cell exhaustion, reversed metabolic syndrome, and restored the gut flora, community structure. So it had multiple mechanisms of helping these cancer patients. So this herb effectively suppresses colorectal cancer progression. Its efficacy is associated with modulation of the tumor immune microbiome axis, involving direct cytotoxicity, addressing T-cell health, and restoring the gut microbiome. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So this is yet another reason why I take this herb every day and recommend it to so many patients, because it's so great. And this, you can find, again, a lot of problems with Chinese herb quality and adulteration and spiking with pharma drugs. Big problems. I've been, studying and being aware and looking into these issues with Chinese herbs for 35 years since I started using Chinese herbs, and realized that it's really important to use a pharmaceutical GMP certified Chinese herb. And that's the one that I take. It's right here on our store page, michaelgaeta.com/store. It's super inexpensive. A daily maintenance dose, what I take, is 3 a day, less than 50 cents a day. Therapeutic dose is 6 a day. That's what I recommend typically to patients, sometimes more. But for most patients in my practice, come get a consult. Again, go to the michaelgaeta.com, schedule a consult. I use 6 a day. So there it is. It's very inexpensive. It's ridiculously effective. I've got a short intro to the herb here, 26-minute video, 4 studies. Of the 50,000 studies that have been done on this herb, it is better researched. The evidence base on this herb is better than almost any pharma drug. The evidence base is astounding. Plus, I'm so into this herb, I taught a whole course just on this herb, and you'll see a link there from the store page to this class, Chinese sage, Salvia miltiorhiza, Dan Shen, ancient herb for modern times, and it's great. You get tons of research. We go through a lot of the conditions that this herb has been shown effective for in my own practice, and stories from my practice as well. And it's just great. And it's perfectly compatible with the Beamer because they both improve microcirculation. So I use the Beamer every day. I think everybody should. It's amazing home care for the whole family, medical device, 8 minutes twice a day. And then I take this herb every day, and they both improve microcirculation. All right. So let me just check for any other questions. I don't see any. So I think we've done it for today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate your presence here. Please share the show with your friends. Just send them to the Mondays with Michael page, and let them know about the show. We have coming up in 2 weeks, Dr. Donnie Yans, who I've known about for decades in Chinese medicine. He's a big deal in the Chinese medicine field. He's going to be with us in 2 weeks. And look forward to seeing you all next week. And I'm going to play the piano for you because I love playing the piano for you. And I appreciate you being here for today's show. Blessings to you and yours. And we will see you next week. Okay. Okay, I have not played this one for you ever. This is a little Boz Scaggs from 1985. Boz Scaggs, Heart of Mine, Boz Scaggs. All right. Well, a little Boz Scaggs. It's amazing that that tune came out 40 years ago, 1985. So pretty awesome. Great tune. Boz Scaggs, Heart of Mine. Can jump on YouTube or whatever if you want to hear the original. But always good to play for you. So thanks, everybody. Blessings to you and yours, and we'll see you next week. Take care.